it's Maisie here from Devils United, and here I've got Andy. Hey Andy, how are you?
Not too bad, thanks. You all right?
I'm good, thank you. We're going to be talking today about the Women's Super League game, Manchester United versus Reading. You went to the game last night, didn't you, Andy? How was the game for you?
I was there. We were all there so early because it's been the first game back for 18 months. I'd say the majority of the sort of people who go regularly were there from some were there as early as 4 o'clock. I was there about 5. And then it just built up from there. And it was great. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I think it was, it was a great result. Watched it back today, and it was quite interesting because we were on tenterhooks first half. Like, it didn't feel as secure as it looks. Like, actually, Reading really weren't anywhere near us, but we felt, that we were quite cagey. Obviously, settled down when Kirsty scored, and then obviously we got to see. We took over in the second half, but it was a great experience. And anyone who hasn't been to Lee, I know it's a bit of a trek, but it's really, really worth it.
Oh yeah, definitely. What do you think of the actual ground itself for the women's game? Like, do you think it's a nice stadium or?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I used to think it's like when you used to play Sims and you start early at the beginning and you shove like a big building and there's nothing else around it. It's like they've not really developed anything further than that. I think the stadium's great. I think it could do with being closer to Manchester, but you can't pick it up and move it. Obviously, I've been following the women since they were formed 3 years ago, and part of the sort of Manchester United Women's Supporters Club and North United after the first 6 months, really, the first season, and that does mean that you can see, it gives you another idea what the other alternatives are. So Lee is a great stadium. You've got facilities. You can actually see, you can got a great view of the pitch. The pitch itself is great. We're not going to get a postponement. Whereas I can't tell you how many times we've looked. Birmingham's been postponed when they played at Solihull. I swear to God, I got hypothermia when I saw West Ham away, because that was literally like a high school ground near enough. And even some of the bigger teams in the WSL, the title challenges that you would consider, Chelsea in reality play at Kings Meadow, which is a National League ground for AFC Wimbledon. Kind of, if you blow too hard, it'll fall down. It's what people talk about, a traditional football ground, and it works, but they're kind of capped already at like 3,000 or 4,000. Now, we only got 2,000 last night, but I think we've got space to grow. Even Arsenal, Kings Meadow, that's another National League ground. Apparently, the pitch is all right. When Liverpool was in the WSL, they had that many postponements. They got forced to move their stadium. So I think it's definitely a place to be proud of as a United fan, because it does show that the club has given some thought about where to put the women's team. Because trust me, they could put you in a field, which I like to call Everton's ground at Walton Hall Park, which is basically a council field in Liverpool. So I'm proud of that, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. We noticed as well last night, Ella Toon, she got 2 assists, and the second goal what we had, it was absolutely incredible. I thought, what a goal! It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're gonna make me try and pronounce the surname now. I've did about 5 different versions of it.
I'll just call the owner.
I think the best one was when the FA last season called it Badger, which is just totally wrong. It's apparently, I'm gonna run up to it, Honor Badger, that'll do. Honor, my mate Honor. Yeah, I mean, she, in my opinion, she was our best player last night. I mean, we needed to be someone quite physical, because Reading, the unwritten rule about Reading is when they lose or they go down 1-0, it's like the X-Men. The claws come out, the studs come up, and it gets very, very, very physical. And one of my concerns was about getting us out with all fingers and toes attached at the end of last match, because we've not got a deep squad. We get an injury, that's going to be the big problem. And they are very, very physical. But last night, I think, hopefully, it was a combination of the fact that we had a wall of noise, and they were missing a lot of players at Reading, and they were very, very young. I think a lot of them kind of got a bit thrown by it, because they weren't expecting that atmosphere. Because if you go to any other WSL game, you will not hear an atmosphere that you get with United. But yeah, with Ella, I mean, I think she's coming from strength to strength. I mean, being in the Team GB in summer this summer's probably helped. I know she didn't play that much, but it's the professionalism, it's the training, it's probably the confidence boost about getting the kit being called up, and she's just come back a bit of a different player. She's always been good. She's always been able to get the goal. But the old adage that people used to say was, "Oh, she's crap for a certain number of minutes, then she scores at the end, so covers her ass." And actually, I don't care. The point of football is to score the goals. So, like, as long as you get the end part of that sentence, then that's fine. But she's not even doing that anymore. She's a baller, and she was good yesterday. And I mean, she was basically our only striker really on the pitch. And I think the great thing about Anna's second goal as well is that she's okay, great physical player, put a lot of work in. She jostled people off the ball, but she's a left back, and nobody expects a left back to score. And the thing that seems to have happened at the beginning of this pre-season and this first game, obviously the first game, all right, but we're starting to score again outside of our forwards. Now we need to because we've got no hardly any forwards apart from Alicia Russo. But I'm feeling more confident going forward now after seeing Anna score and obviously Kirsty score as well last night.
100%. And that brings me to my first question was, who did you think your man of the match was last night?
Anna. It's just got to be. I know Kirsty Hansen got it, and that's probably a lot to do with the goals, because she scored. And she is also looking really, really good. I mean, she's never been particularly poor, but I noticed in the first pre-season game against Liverpool, it was like she was on, like with your podcast, she was on 1.5 speed, and everybody else was on 1. She was just like had so much speed and like a proper never say die attitude. And I was listening back to some of the Sky coverage today, and they were saying that Mark Skinner was interviewed, and he was saying that obviously Kirsten Press kind of pushed her out a little bit when she was there last season. So I think Kirsty Hansen's aware that she's got speed. She's free now. She's got space to prove herself. She is that person, and we're getting a lot out of her. But no, Anna, because number of reasons. Because just last night, even when we did have that time in the first half where it was almost like we were practicing social distancing. Like literally, we were that far away from Reading. It was almost like that advert for walking football that Barclays do. Like literally, we're just standing there. But she was, going left and right. She was doing some great individual work. She was putting the tackles in. Obviously, she got the goals as well. But like, it's kind of what you want to see. But I would say definitely Anna because it was she was there for the full match as well as the goal, 100%.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I feel like the goal, what she did do was absolutely incredible. She was just, her presence was just there on the pitch, and you could tell that her presence was really there, and she did impact us so much. Ella Toon for me was a very strong contender for that man of the match, knowing that she got them 2 assists. I actually do feel like this season is going to be her season. I feel like Matt Skinner is going to get the best out of her, and especially knowing that she's had a bit of training, like you say, with Team GB, then that is going to really help her for this season. She's one of them people where she is also very important on the pitch because she can get the goal when she needs to. She's good with getting forward, getting in that little tight spaces, so she can provide assists as well for the team. And I feel like that's going to be so crucial for us for being in 4th place, becoming to 3rd place. That is going to be so crucial for us, especially when it comes to the middle of the season and the end of the season.
Definitely, 100%. I think, I think the thing is, England's a weird one because obviously United on the men's side as well has always had an interesting relationship with the England squad. I would say hate rather than love-hate normally. But in the women's game, obviously, it is a big honour. And, and when Phil Neville was the manager, he did kind of mess things up a little bit. Mary was not really the same when she came back from the England squad. And for some reason, I used to joke that I think in the last season, I think Phil Neville lost all the Man United phone numbers because there was some great performances and they weren't just getting called up. It was basically City and friends for the Lionesses. But I think with a new manager, and actually I also noticed today that the deputy England manager was there last night. So you have to hope that he's looking at Ella Toon, that he's looking maybe at some of our other English qualified players that might be coming up, and to be honest, Mary Ertz, because I'm a massive Mary fan. And I think, but she gets so much shit. But when you look at her numbers, she's as good, if not as better, as sort of a Carly Telford level. She's, Ellie Roebuck's kind of the number one at the moment, but you think with the right training and the right support, she probably could easily get back into the England squad as well.
It's good how Matt Skinner gave her that chance last night, and having that clean sheet does really help because it boosts her confidence up and it boosts the team's confidence up as well. Because when you looked at last season, we was more for conceding goals as well, because then we seem to concede quite a few. So having that clean sheet will definitely help bring the team's momentum up for the next coming games too. Because we need to definitely have these clean sheets for games like Reading, Everton, Birmingham. They're the kind of games where you need them clean sheets because they definitely are going to help us.
Yeah, and obviously the next one's Leicester, which you might sort of get into. But like Leicester's got a spine of ex-United players now. They're going to be able to tell that have only just moved from United. They're going to be able to give him a few little tips. I mean, obviously not as much as if Casey was still there because a new manager, new style. But you've got to look at Jess Sigsworth, obviously. Charlie Devlin used to be their United player as well. She's there. And Abby McManus, and that's three players that can give them a good idea about a lot of how United's going to play. And it's possibly a bit of a banana skin because you could easily be looking over the hill towards Chelsea. But, we're going to be at the King Power. It's going to be in the Prem Stadium. They're going to be buzzing because it's the first time Leicester have played in the men's stadium. And previous to that, it isn't that many years that they were completely amateur. So there's, it's a big, big occasion for them, and we're going to have to spoil the party. That's the attitude that we're going to need. And start with a clean streak, definitely.
We played Leicester in the pre-season, didn't we? Was it 2-2 Leicester? Was it 2-2 Leicester when we played them?
It's weird. It's weird with the women's game because half the time they do these behind closed doors friendlies where they don't announce things. We played Liverpool that was televised on MUTV, and then we played Aston Villa that was behind closed doors, but they released. I think we won that, but I can't remember the score from it.
Yeah, and we played Rangers as well, didn't we?
We played Brighton and then Rangers. Yeah, so I don't really play Leicester, but we. But it's different because unlike the men's where they televise it all, you can't see it as clearly.
Yeah, I ended up watching the Rangers game. We won by quite a large amount, didn't we? Five goals. It was a really good game because what I really liked about this women team as well, compared to Casey Stoney's team, we're a more possession-based team, which I really quite like. Obviously, more possession, more chance of us winning, more chance we're going to score them goals. So that really does help as well. I quite like Mark Skinner's kind of tactics. I feel like that is going to be quite useful, and it does suit our team because when you do have a new manager coming in, you do get worried thinking, is this tactic going to work for us? And it does like Mark Skinner's tactics are working, and it looks like the women as well are also very happy with Mark Skinner's style of play.
So the more I learn about Mark Skinner, the more I like about him. I mean, he's basically come up from the ranks in Birmingham. He's basically done every job in Birmingham, including their manager before he went to Orlando Pride. But the main thing about that is the first thing he started with is the academy. So he's very good at dealing with younger players. He's very good at, confidence building. It's teenage, from teenage girls onwards, it's difficult a lot at the best of times. And it's dealing with them transitioning into this sort of pressurized environment. He's not been parachuted in. Like we were doing a lot of debates as a fan base, I think, over the summer where you had a lot of people, you had sort of two schools of thought really. Oh, if United really cares about their women's game, then they're going to just import this massively expensive ex-PSG guy or this big name manager. Or, actually, if not, what we need to do is just get someone who's good at WSL. I think we've kind of gone somewhere in the middle. I actually am glad we got Mark Skinner because I think if we got like a big name manager, then that's your budget gone and we needed players. So that's one thing. And I think with Mark Skinner, I think he adds a lot of value to all the players that he has. He might not have the best squad he's coaching, but he'll add a higher percentage to them. The odd adage about school, making a C to a B, or rather than an A to an A. It's harder to do that, I think that's what he would do. And what I like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we supported Casey massively. She formed the club, she got the team together. She found my favourite player, which is Leah Galton, who was out of football before Man United. She actually didn't have a club. She just had fallen out of love with the game, and not only did she bring her in as a manager, she sort of managed to reset her mindset and get her to a point now where, in my opinion, she's the best player that we've got. And when her contract comes up for renewal again, I think we should, bubble wrap her, lock down the family silver, sell anything to keep her, because I think she's our best player by a mile. But the thing that Casey doesn't do and didn't do very well, that Mark does, which I think is really, really good, is that she got shell shocked very easily. So she'll be good at setting your team up. She'll be good at half time. She might be good at the odd substitute, but the in-game tactical changes, the getting the messages to the players like on the sideline, wasn't there. So as soon as we went 1-0 down, maybe in a City game or something like that, she didn't have the sort of tactical, right, we've got to change or we've got to do something different. She would almost I know managers have to be stone-faced anyway, but she really was like literally almost like you thinking, well, what am I going to do next? Mark is very, very vocal. You might have heard some of it on the Rangers game. He's constantly doing tactics. He's using the opportunity, not just at 45 minutes, in the whole first half and second half, to make these little changes and to keep moving, keep the team going, keep getting the messages out. And that's where I think, it's going to be much better than Casey, I think, in that respect, because she's gone to Ella. It's weird, she's kind of gone to America, like obviously Mark's gone to America as well. But I think what's quite interesting is she's gone to form San Diego, because San Diego are not formed at the minute. So it's almost like she's been sort of typecast in that role of putting a club together. But maybe she's good at that, and Mark's the one to bring us forward.
You did mention as well about Mark Skinner with the youth. He actually did sign Tara Bond's first professional contract as well. That was several days ago, a week ago. I'd love to see how she will be in the first team as well. Maybe will she come on perhaps as a sub for Leicester, or maybe a bit later on for a cup game? It'd be good to see how she is.
Well, Tara's been loaned out to Sheffield United this season, but she did an absolute screamer. If you look on YouTube, she did a fantastic screamer in their first game last week. But Caris Jones is another one who's actually, believe it or not, a Welsh international. Even though I think she might be about 17, I'm not sure how old she is, but she's not particularly old at all. She might be a bit younger than that, but certainly under the age of 18. And she was put in the Wales squad against the Faroe Islands before she even kicked the ball for a team, so we picked her up. And I think it's a good point you reminded me of that, because another thing that really annoyed me about Casey, and I'll say annoyed actually, because it was a bit annoying, is that the United way is bringing on the youth from the men's and from the women. It's just the way it is. And it's, even from a Glazer accountancy perspective, it's the cheapest way. If you bring someone in all the way through, they have an emotional loyalty for you as well as an ability. So if you can bring, the ideal squad would be one that you've brought up, because you've not paid for the transfer fee, you've brought them up, you've made them good. And, with the youth, Casey didn't, I think I had this line where in the pre-season games and in Rangers, she played more academy players, development players. So Mark Skinner played more academy players and development players than Casey ever did in 3 seasons of being our manager.
It's ridiculous. You wouldn't have thought that. That's such a crazy stat, isn't it?
Now I know you can, and I know you can't throw people in the deep end and it can affect their development. But 5-10 minutes of getting that atmosphere, getting that experience, as I say, Tara was being played in the preseason, and now got a first professional contract. Caris Jones, there are others as well. Rebecca May did get a game under Casey, but I think if anything, it gives them hope as devs, because unlike the men's team, it's a bit of a jump. So there isn't an under 21s in the women's structure. It goes from under 18s to adult. So there's a bit of a jump there, and it's quite hard because sometimes people aren't that ready. If you're 18 and you age out, to get seen and to either be in the main team or to be in, loaned out or whatever. And I think if you don't use them, you can lose them, and that's not good for the players either. If you're in the dev squad and you see your teammate has had 10 minutes in the first team, it's got to give you extra 5-10% because you're not just doing it for fun. You will eventually get into the first team or possibly get into the first team. It gives you that hope, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. I'll go through some comments and then I'll go to the next question.
Yeah, sure.
Jordan, big up Maisie, smash the like button. Thank you, Jordan, for tuning in. Match reviewer, hi Maisie, how are you? I'm all well, thank you. How are you? And everyone who is watching right now, go and subscribe to the match reviewer. He is an Arsenal podcast. He's new, only just started up. Just give all the support and go and sub. Hi Dana, thanks for tuning in. Hi Static, thanks for tuning in. I'm all well, thank you, and I hope you are all well too. 9 likes, great. Thank you for the 9 likes, everyone. Everyone keep liking, and also share it as well. It's good for everyone to get awareness of women's football, because especially in these recent year and a half since the World Cup, this is when the women's football has started to pick up. It's good having streams of women's football, so people are learning more about women's football and they get to enjoy it if they do know about it, of course. So yeah, thank you for the 9 likes. It's so much appreciated. And hello as well to Rich Sport. Whoever hasn't already, go and subscribe to Rich Sport. He is a United podcast. I am actually sometimes on there as well. And it's always such a laugh to go on there. And big up as well to Talk. Thank you for tuning in, legend, absolute legend talkers. Yes, so I've got the next question here. Should the Reading goal have been counted? And should we bring VAR into the Women's Super League?
Well, everyone loves VAR, don't they? Nobody moans about it at all. It's universally loved across the land. Everybody just smiles. No, I mean, everyone hates VAR. It's a difficult one because I looked on Sky, and as much as it pains to tell me, it probably did cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if people might remember, there was a little incident last time we played Reading. And this might make a bit of sense because when I'm doing that. So basically, it's still, I think we actually got so angry about it, we made it into a GIF. So if you're on Twitter and even search for it, you'll find it. Basically, essentially, Katie Zellum headed the ball, and the referee gave a penalty for handball. And it was the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever seen in my life. I'd like to say, as I'm on live, that I was very quiet and reserved and didn't say anything at all about the ref or her abilities when it happened, but then I'd be lying. But with that last night, that was just more football. If every game was sanitized, and I love NFL, that's my other thing I'm interested in, American football, and it is great, but they will every scoring play is reviewed. If you want to go down that route, then you might as well get used to games kicking off at 12 and finishing at 9. It takes so much out of the game, and it is part of the fun. I mean, should the Reading goal be counted? Yes. Should we bring VAR into WSL? Yes, but not yet, because currently there's such a disparity in stadiums. We sort of touched on it earlier. You couldn't really do it. So, if you were a big play like Academy Stadium for City or was it Lee, we could have it for every home game. We will have it because Lee's a Euros stadium, so they're going to physically put it in the stadium for the women's Euros in summer. But the problem is, if you play it, say if you play in Everton, which is basically a park in Liverpool, then no way you could put it in because you need more cameras. You need about 11 cameras minimum to do VAR, plus do goal line technology rather, not just VAR. The buzzing in the pocket that they do, and they just couldn't do it. So then it wouldn't be fair. It'd be lopsided. I mean, what you could do, where maybe for the Women's FA Cup final at Wembley is a one-off game, you can have it because then that's not unfair. So you can have non-VAR or the top. And then for the sort of highlight game, you can have it then. And then that obviously stops someone missing out on a trophy because of, something like that, or because of yesterday. But I think we need to invest in other things first before VAR.
Hmm. When I was looking at the Reading goal when I was watching it at the time on the TV, I actually thought it was a goal. But then I think I watched after the game with the commentators at the end, and it did show. And I was looking at it; it didn't look it was completely over the line to me. So I actually
Yeah,
didn't. Yeah, I didn't think it was counted because I would have only accounted if it was fully over the line. So for me,
which
I
is
didn't
true.
think it
That's the rules,
was
to be
a
fair.
Reading. Yeah, so I didn't think it was a Reading goal for that reason, and I think the ref made the right decision not to count it because I can imagine all this hatred again if, for example, it did go through and then you're seeing it at the end of the game knowing it didn't go fully over
What's
the
so
line.
interesting? What's so interesting about seeing the game as a fan in the stands and watching it on TV
Mm-hmm.
is that you forget how much the broadcaster set the agenda. The reason why I've got no voice at the moment is because I didn't stop shouting at the referee when Kirsty Hansen got elbowed in the face,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought that was a stonewall red card.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, on the broadcast, they were like, "Yeah, there's nothing in it," and they moved on. As the commentators, and that's almost like a separate issue because it's like, I suppose that's why you got into trouble with the handball, which has led to VAR in the men's game, because like it was getting ridiculous 2 seasons ago. Pretty much to give handball, the player almost had to do a goalkeeper save with their hand. This whole they didn't mean it, or my hands are in the wrong place, and so they went. Then now they've gone the other way, and now if if it's a millimeter next to it or whatever, they'll give it. If you want to go down that route, then fine. But in my opinion, if you elbow somebody to the face, if there's intent, it's a red card. If there's no intent, it's a yellow card. And one of the performances of the referee, like yesterday, that was pretty poor, was that I think she'd forgotten that she could yellow card Reading players because she
Mm-hmm.
never did. But it's just interesting about how the narrative is set by the broadcaster, because we didn't even consider. When I saw it initially, I thought it wasn't over the line by quite a bit. That it actually wasn't. But then when I
Mm-hmm.
saw it at first on TV real time, I thought like you, it was slightly over the line. As I said, maybe it was. But I think, or what I would say is the referee didn't make a decision at all. She got lucky. She couldn't tell you honestly that I was definitely not on the line. She
Yeah.
guessed right. Is the best way to explain it.
That's very true, especially like you say, with no VAR there, it's just going to be much harder to make the decision, and you've just got to go with what the ref says. In terms of bringing the VAR to me, it would be good to have VAR, but like you say, there is other things the women's need to invest in first for the actual Super League. Maybe if the women's team does get bigger and there's more viewers in a couple of years' time, then perhaps maybe VAR would be that right option. Because when you look
Yeah.
at like men's football these days, it feels like VAR is needed so much, and VAR needs tweeting quite a lot before we do bring into
Oh,
the women's
100%.
football.
100%. I think the reason why people, and we joked about it before, but I think the reason why people hate VAR is because if you're in the stadium, you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're, but even on the broadcast, you watch rugby union. I think it's still in league as well. You can hear what the ref is saying. You can hear what they're checking for. I think with rugby league, you can even hear the equivalent of the VAR person saying what they think and what they're looking at, and then they agree. And the TMO with rugby union also says it. I think people would feel a lot better, even if they disagree. They get what's going on. I think when VAR first came in the men's game, and people were given offside because of fingernails and crap like
Mm-hmm.
that. You're not going to see that, and it's going to take away from the game. So yeah, I think the first thing I would do if you were doing VAR, I'd do two things. I would do um, a bit where the TMO or the extra official is mic'd, so you can actually hear what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But probably even better, to be honest. And they've started to do it occasionally. I prefer, even if it takes a bit longer, I prefer when the match ref themselves runs over to the screen and looks at it
Mm-hmm.
themselves instead of waiting for some guy in a truck. Because that referee is a referee on the field for a reason. Normally, they're a much higher grade referee, so you've got a better set of eyes if he's reviewing his own decision on the sideline than if he's like going like that and he's waiting for somebody else to come back on him.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I would hate if VAR did come to the women's game, it would be like the men's game where it just get checked every single goal. Because, like you say, it puts like an extra 5 minutes on top at the end of the game, and it's just absolutely daft. And that can cause from a win to a draw or a win to a loss. It's just not needed whatsoever. And as well with VAR, the women's game, the women are a lot more tougher than the men's are. Because the men just goes down over absolutely everything. And I think it was one of the Reading players when the ball it hit her face and she just got straight back up.
Yeah.
And that's something what I absolutely love, because you just think if that was a male footballer, they'd be on the ground for 10 minutes about that, but they just want to get on with the game.
Even Kirsty, she got elbowed in the face, and all right, she got a bit of treatment, but as you say, it would have been a lot more drawn out. But then actually, I would be pretty confident they would have got a card out of that. That's a different debate, you know. But I think that's the history of the fact that a long time, you know, when Casey was a player, and when, you know, Alex Scott, you might see on Match of the Day, and when other players like that, they had to pay to play. They actually physically had to pay to play. When Casey was England captain, I believe, I read somewhere on the BBC or something at one point, she had an average salary of 25 grand a year as England captain. You know, I think Ronaldo probably has lunches that cost more than 25 grand. You know, and it's that attitude, because they're still doing it for the love of the game, even though it's getting more professionalized.
100%. And you can tell that with the women, they are playing for the badge. Like, you get these kind of players in the men's team and you think, I'm only here for the pay packet. But then you look at the women's team, especially when you look at like Ella Toon, who's been a United fan for all her life, and you can just tell every time she comes on that pitch, she is playing for the Man United badge because she loves the club so much.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, we've got quite a few United fans actually that play for the club, which must be such a great thing. I mean, the most obvious one and the most famous one that certainly most of what we call global Reds, so the sort of Indian Reds and the sort of love it, is Jackie Groening. And I think the first picture was of her with a United shirt. You know, she was a United fan growing up. And to be honest, I said before when we were looking at transfers that we haven't got Champions League football at the minute, but what we can offer people is time to play, and also time to live your dream. If you're a United fan, and if you've grown up United, why would you not play for United? We're not in the fourth division, you know. We're in the WSL, and the Premier Women's League in England, and that's one of the reasons why I think Jackie came over quite early on, because we were not like a full finished article then. Obviously, Ella's staying, you know, as well. Emily Ramsey's been loaned out to Birmingham. She came from our academy. Katie Zellum originally came from our academy, but there was no women's team for us to go into. Same with Ella, obviously.
Yeah, we've got that. I know Ella went to City's academy, didn't she?
Yeah, and she played for her briefly, but like, you know, some of them had to, like Katie Zellum played for Liverpool for a bit because she had to. There was no other options. And but I think, and that's what I mean, we're going back to what we were saying earlier about bringing that pathway through, letting people know that it's possible to play for United. And I think that's what's great about having the women's game televised on Sky and becoming more popular, irrespective of the like myriads of like, you know, men who are on Twitter saying it's Sunday League level and it's boring and all this kind of thing. Well, that's interesting. The amount of people that I've seen say that on specific WSL, you know, Twitter accounts is ridiculous. You know, that they're just trolls. Don't feed the trolls. But it's going to happen as they get more thing, because it's going to be more like threatening to a certain kind of guy, because football's a thing that we can do. Well, trust me, I like the women's game because I don't like the atmosphere of that kind of football anyway. And and I think, you know, it's going to probably get worse before it gets better, because people are going to suddenly see how great these female players are, and a certain kind of fan's going to get threatened in relation to, you know, hang on a minute, because it like changes their view on it. But a lot of these women players, I mean, I would certainly say have a very high standard.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you there. I'll go through some more comments and I'll go to the next question.
Sure.
Talker said hi to you. He wasn't sure what your name was, but he's called Andy Talk.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
A big up to Munzi. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you, Queen, as well, for tuning in. I've got a next question here. It was about Reading. What did you think their downfall was in the game?
When I was there last night, I thought their downfall was a combination of the fact that we provided, that's why my voice is still, a very strong wall of noise, and they were not used to that atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it a bit more today and being less emotional is probably because they were they were weak on attack. They've got this new Belgian forward that they're trying to get a visa for. If she was playing, it would have been better, but they had a lot of young players there last night. So I think it was probably a combination of the fact that they probably never actually tried to win the game particularly. Kelly Chambers as a manager, I don't really follow any other teams but Man United, but just from what I've seen when we play her, she kind of reminds me a bit of a PE teacher. She's not there. It's like, oh, did you do all right? Oh, we'll see you again next week for the next game. I think maybe a little bit of that was involved it, but I think mainly I think it's because they lost some of their more physical players as well, and Harry James, Amy Turner's partner, she's gone to North Carolina Courage. That's a massive loss for them. Jess Fishlock, he was there last season again, Welsh international. She's not there anymore, and I believe one more is Farrah Williams is retired as well. So there's three or four big names that they've lost. They didn't have the striker coming in available, and they filled it a lot with academy players. They had a very short bench, so I think really a mixture of the fact they were probably a bit overawed by the occasion, and that United never got them to settle. I think as well. We kept them. After once we finally decided to actually stop socially distancing, actually start playing against them, they didn't really have a chance.
Yeah, we definitely did keep them on their toes. I think when you noticed it more in the second half, they was giving away their ball to us in their half as well. Like you seen the goalkeeper passing it to the defender, and then the defender was passing it to us because they had no one to pass it to, or they was just a bit uneasy knowing that we were winning and we was quite strong and we was very dominating against them as well.
But that's about nerves, isn't it? Like we were making, I remember that particular case, we're sort of going, either the way, and you sort of start building up the thing, and you just start, it's little wins because I was listening today and we were almost as loud as the commentators at one point. And I think if they aren't prepared and they haven't been prepared properly, they are going to make mistakes like that, and and that's when you get on them. And I can't agree with you more, really. There.
100%. And what I do feel like as well, the crowd makes a whole lot more of a difference, because then the crowd could be that difference between a win and a draw. Because when you've got that crowd and they're just spurring you on continuously, they're gonna do much better, and they want to do much better. Manchester United, we're one of the best, if not the best, fan base in the world. Our noise could impact the whole squad altogether to ensure wins, to continue wins. And I feel like as well with the women's team, it does help them a lot, and it does spur them on quite a lot as well.
Yeah, no, it's that visibility as well. I mean, United has the biggest eyeballs on social media as well as obviously on TV, and it again goes back to the whole young girl watching sport. I mean, what got me into the WSL was I was thinking about those players actually when they were a little bit younger. Like when we first arrived, if you haven't been following women's football for that long, you might not know. But when we first arrived, we actually had a lot of we didn't make many friends as a fan base when we arrived, partly because arrogant United, what the men's fans get, but partly because there was this weird view with the women's game that it was a family show. It was a family audience. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating like some of the stuff that happens on social media towards the men's players. Hell no way at all, or in the stadiums. But when we first went to a few WSL games and championship games, we used to really ruffle feathers because what they were used to was their own team scores. What you would get was, that's not football. It's not tennis. That's not football. Or you would get no noise at all, and certainly no chanting. And we would be doing it constantly, and we'd actually get blowback. Or, United are making so much noise and they're making it into a rivalry, into an atmosphere. And to be honest, it's because I just imagined, and you probably correct me if I'm wrong with this, but like, let's take Lauren James. She's got a brother. I assume both of them watched Champions League when they were younger.
Mm-hmm.
She's obviously wanted to be a footballer. Did she dream about playing in front of 50 people that clap her at the end and don't really get involved in the match? Or did she dream running out on the Champions League with people cheering and chanting her name and wearing a shirt, just like her brother Reece did? I get the impression it was the latter. And that's what got me involved with, defending and promoting what we do, because all of our chants they are family friendly in the sense that we don't swear. We can slate the players, but we don't abuse them, if that makes sense. The best example would be how high do you want the goals if they score above? If they hit it way over the bar. Mild little things that are nothing. And we do change some of the men's chants that do come out of it, but we write a lot of our own. That obviously Manchester United women have a songbook on their Twitter page, through to their main website, with people aren't aware of it. And I think what makes me proud, and what you can see is happening now, it's a culmination in the last few years, is that the players want to come to us because they want to be supported by us. We're now creating an atmosphere where players want to play, because why would you want to potentially injure yourself in front of 4 people and a clap? They're taking as many risks as the men's players, if not more, actually. There's some studies that come out that ACLs are more common in women for physiological reasons. And a lot of them aren't fully full-time or have only just turned full-time, so they haven't got the years of training like some of the men's would have. Why would you do that if you're not entertaining the right people? And and that's why I give my all as a fan, because I think, and I think it's respected by the players. And I think that's why every single player in the interviews, at Ava Mannion, Katie Zellum, Leah Galton, Hannah Blundell, Ella Toon, reference the fans, because you actually do see them react to what you're saying. They see you react because they get that we understand why they're playing. The fact they're female footballers is absolutely there's no difference between them and the men in that respect.
Yeah, 100%. I've got my last question here, and it was, will we need to change our tactics against Leicester? What would you think about that? Do you think we could go in the same game as Reading, start the same way, start the same lineup, and then we'll come out with a solid win? Or do you feel like Matt Skinner needs to change up the team a little bit?
On paper, Leicester's a weaker team than Reading, but the key word of that sentence is on paper. As I said before, Leicester's already got 3 players that will know a bit of the United way. So they're already going to have to do something slightly different, because obviously if they go back to stuff they've done on the Casey, Jess Sigler's going to know how it worked. I think mainly what we're going to have to do against Leicester is I'd probably like Russo to start. I think everyone had a good game last night. It'd be hard for me to drop people, but I think maybe some squad rotation would be good. Millie Turner, it was the first game yesterday that she missed ever for Man United women. She's played every single game that they've played, apart from one, I think, because of injury, or certainly every WSL game. So you could do maybe a bit of rotation, but I think what we have to do, especially against Leicester, because remember we lost against Leicester at the end of last season in the FA Cup.
That was it. That's what I remember now. It was the
partly,
FA Cup.
Partly because everybody's heads were in the clouds because they knew that Casey was going. It was the last game, and they just ran out of steam really a little bit. So I think maybe what you'd probably do, and this is only because of the tactical elements, I would say you need to shock Leicester, especially because they're in their own stadium. Get a couple of goals maybe before the end of the first 30 minutes, because you want to like today with City and Everton, you want to get to a point where it doesn't matter if they're at their Prem team or not, we ain't going to win this game, and that's what you want them to start thinking. So I would say maybe Russo and Hansen on the same pitch. Lee is obviously a given because she's one of our best wingers. Honor's, a great enforcer in defence. You get those spine, you could probably chop and change a few people if you wanted to. But I think we need an early goal, and then hopefully we need another one. because they're in the King Power Stadium. They're going to make a big deal of that. It's the first game there. It's, as I say, we're going to have to spoil the party a little bit. So you have to get them a bit rocky. And I think as long as we get 1 or 2-0 up relatively quickly, we'll be fine. But I think it all depends on our ability to score. Because again, Jess Sigworth, we've just got rid of her, and we've not really brought in, apart from Martha Thomas, which is a bit debatable, we've not really brought in another striker. So she's kind of got the whole, well, you've just got rid of me, so what I want to do is score the winner and, come up to the Barmy Army and go, see what you've missed or something like that. And I don't blame her. So I think it's going to be a harder game than people think.
I do as well, especially knowing with us losing against Leicester at the end of last season. It'll be quite good to see, firstly, how Leicester is going to beat in the Women's Super League. And secondly, it will be good to see on how they will react, knowing they are in the King Power Stadium. We do need to be quick with our goals. I feel like, especially in the Reading game, we did start off a little bit slow. Like you say, it was quite a longer passes. It was just a bit more slower, and we need to tweak that a little bit. We need to be a little bit more faster to make sure we ensure a couple of early goals. Because I feel like with Leicester, they are that type of team, and they will hurt us if they have that opportunity to.
Yeah, they have a. At the end of the day, it's all about belief, and quite rightly, they're going to be in the dressing room. They're going to say, "Look, you're in the Prem Stadium. It's the first game in King Power. How about we beat United? What's that going to feel like? Jess, they've got rid of you. Don't you want to show them what you're missing? You can easily wind them up and get them ready, for it. Whereas we, on paper, we should win that game 90 times out of 100. But then it's a WSL, and there is that, it's sometimes, certainly last season, we would play really good against some of the top teams like City, but then we'd lose against Bristol, or something like that. But what I thought, another thing that's actually quite important with the tactics, and it's not actually that well known, so I think you might find it quite interesting, is the level of the referees in the women's game. Because to an extent, you've got to play like almost like there isn't a referee there, that you can't rely on them, because if it's because of the amount of howlers that they've had in over the years, partly it isn't their fault. I mean, basically, the referees you see on a Sunday in the Prem or the Saturday in the Prem, they're professional full-time referees in sort of two groups basically, and all they do all day is ref, and they ref the Championship or the Prem. Then I think there's level 1 and level 2 refs. They look at the Championship and League One. Again, you sort of Port Vale, you sort of like, you sort of decent stadiums. And then obviously you get the sort of League 2 refs as well. And actually, believe it or not, I've actually not got yet to a level where I'm talking about refs at ref in the women. It's a level below that get the women's refs. Every single referee in the women's game has a full-time job doing something else. Up until last season, I think they got £150 for expenses for doing a game. And luckily, with the Sky deal, they're going to have to get better, because Sky will not allow howlers like that. And I noticed last night Mike Riley, who's the head of the Professional Referee Association, was there monitoring the ref. But yeah, I think it's interesting that our girls definitely deserve better, and we sort of linked it earlier that what's the first investment I would do? Well, I would say it's the international break today, this week. You could send a Prem referee there last night, no problem. He wouldn't have to. It's not a different game. He wouldn't have to learn different rules. He could just go in and he would be the top class. But they don't want to do it because of money. So in relation to tactics, as best you can, you kind of have to try and take away a lot of the 50-50 either way kind of decisions as best you can, because I couldn't tell you the name of a good referee in the women's game. Partly because, as I say, it's not their fault. They're actually, most of the referee, like the referee last night, that she would ref in not even the National League, it's the one below that. So like Vanarama North, Vanarama South level. And then again, that then goes back to the atmosphere that we had last night. Vanarama North, Vanarama South, you're not going to have Sky Sports with 11 cameras. You're not going to have, us lot making the noise that you're going to have. So to an extent, they're at fish out of water as well. But I think tactically, as best you can, you have to try and almost plan for bad refereeing decisions, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking as well, because it did come out that Tobin Heath, she has signed for Arsenal, hasn't she? And I was
Yeah.
really gutted because, especially with her being on a free and wanting to come to Europe, she could have been that hole for the striker position. How do you feel about Ellie like going to Arsenal? Did you want her to come back to United?
Yeah, I mean, she was fantastic. I mean, I think that was probably one of the most difficult things as a fan on the watch alongs. We sort of all sort of watched it on Zoom and sort of we could chat to each other a lot of the time. A group of us was that we never got to see Tobin play live. I mean, we will now, but she'd be wearing the opposite shirt, And I believe quite a few times she'd kiss the United badge, and we really believed that she, loved the club. But then you find out recently that she's actually a childhood Arsenal fan.
Yeah,
So
I
if
read that as
if
well.
she's a childhood Arsenal fan, then I'd be a hypocrite if I'm like, well, I want to get people who are childhood United fans to play for us. Then I suppose I got to let people that were childhood Arsenal fans, hopefully, lose games for Arsenal. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think the American system is so different than over here as well. I mean, the national team is king or queen if you prefer. This is why people are having to go at Skinner because there's some like smart Alex was saying, "Oh, if you look at his figures in Orlando, he's not as good as against Birmingham." Mate, you'd have a phone call. You'd be told what players he could use from the international squad, how long he could use them for, when he'll have to sub them, and he's the manager, and that would be told, centrally by the US team. And I think the thing is, that's a different culture. The players, yeah, they want to win the NWSL. What they really want to do is get the US squad, or they want to win the international team games. So I get, once you've been in that for a while, I get the appeal of coming over to Europe, and maybe in a weird way, we've done Arsenal's marketing for them because we've just showed Tobin what the WSL is like for the last 12 months, and she's like, oh yeah, I really like that. Why she left United, I I don't know. I don't know what. It's very difficult. I mean, she obviously used to come as a pair with Kristen Press. She's now gone to Angel City, so it's really quite surprising, and that there's now a big time difference between the two of them. I think, to be honest, it might just be as simple as once you leave a job, you don't go back to the job. She's left United. She wouldn't necessarily say, all right, guys, you got a new manager now. Do you want me back? Would I have had her back? Yeah, of course I would have had her back. She was one of our best strikers, and she did a lot of coaching on the sidelines. Again, talking about the younger players coming in. She was injured a lot of the time at the end of last season, but she was traveling with the team. Obviously partaking with that knowledge and that kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think she'll be missed, but she's gone. And to be honest, I'm already thinking about how great it's going to be when we play Arsenal at their place. And, maybe not only maybe we'll score against them, maybe one of our academy players will make it look silly. You never know, and hopefully we could hope for that.
Oh, yeah. I quite liked Tobin Heath. I think she was probably my favourite player alongside Lauren James last season for Man United women. With Tobin Heath, I feel like she was just an amazing role model. Getting someone from America who's won the World Cup for women, it was just absolutely incredible to have that role model, especially with Man United being such a young squad as well. It's good for the United squad to have someone like Tobin Heath and Press as well there with them to say, look, this is what you can do if you do this. Look at us, we've won the World Cup, we've done this, we've done that. We want to show you, we want to teach you how to do well. And I feel like they were such a good role model. With Lauren James, I really liked her. I feel like she was just a perfect striker, and she was only so young. I think we got her when she was 17. So it was very young. We got her, and Casey Stoney done so well to develop her into the player she is now. it's just such a shame, really. She's just a Chelsea through and through, because she wants to be there for her brother as well, which is understandable. When you do look at the Chelsea squad, it's an amazing squad, and if you was a woman player and you are supporting Chelsea, of course you'd want to be there. You've got Emma Hayes, who's an amazing player, and she's gonna also do well with Kirby and Kerr along with her as well. They'll also teach her to be an amazing striker and develop further.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren James, yeah, obviously great player, and I used to cheer for her. But I am the one person who seems to be the only person who still says the truth, which was, if you look at some of the matches from last season, from before COVID, and on our watch-alongs, we were shouting it in our laptops. She had one fatal flaw: she would never pass. She would never ever pass. She seems to think she was doing a Pepsi advert all the time, taking 5 players. And the great thing is she could. She was brilliant. She'd take 3 or 4 players, and in the championship, she could do it, because you're playing against much weaker squads. Against Chelsea or against Arsenal or against Man City, she'd take 1, maybe even 2, and then she'd go and have the ball taken off her. So, maybe I'm holding on to that as a little bit to make her feel better as she goes off into the sunset, that there was one negative there. But I think there's definitely something that, certainly Emma Hayes is going to have to get out of her for Chelsea if she wants. And I don't think her stamina was there just yet. I think she struggled to do a full 90. And again, how much time are Chelsea going to give her in relation to that? Because, it's not like maybe with us or even smaller teams where you're the first name on the team sheet, you're going to have time to develop. You're going to have maybe 2, 3 players behind you that are tapping you on your shoulder. And if you don't come up to speed, you're going to get put on the bench. And that's one of the things I think that makes it a bit of a silly move, because, all right, as you say, she wants to be down with her brother. She's just from the South originally, all that kind of stuff. But we could offer her a lot more game time than I think you're going to see Chelsea offer her. And I think also, let's look at the other way. We haven't really touched on it tonight, but Hannah Blundell, who came the other way and didn't know anything about her. I'll be honest, I was like, who? When we got her, I was kind of hoping for Beth England, because I was the person who was like hammering the sort of we need strikers drum since about June. But to be honest, she was really good last night as well. And she's a kind of player going forward I think we need to get. She was on the bench a lot for Chelsea, not because she wasn't good enough, just because she wasn't really in favour, possibly, or she kind of wasn't getting the eyeballs. And I think there's a lot of really good players on the bench for City, on the bench for Arsenal, on the bench for Chelsea. But depending on how the season's going, might be looking at United, because they're thinking, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, we all like a medal, but you know what I mean? It doesn't feel as nice to get a medal if you've never played, or you've played 5 minutes or something like that. And I think what Mark Skinner would have offered Hannah Blundell is, you're going to be in our team. You're going to actually build the culture. And I think that, what's going to happen with Chelsea very soon, if they're not careful, and certainly with Arsenal, is that they're becoming a bit of a team of individuals. They're brilliant. Each individual player is brilliant. But on the day, an actual team in the truest sense of the word can beat them. And I think, with Mark Skinner doing that, bringing in these players, as I said, these players that were kind of, not really favoured, or, Man Utd did great yesterday, but she had an ACL injury for City. She didn't really play that much for them. Doesn't make her any better player. She's healthy now. Having the ability to see these players and not think, well, actually, this is what you're doing last time, and see what they can do. We can build a strong team. And, I'm feeling pretty confident. And another thing I'm confident about is, one of the things that did annoy me about under Casey Stoney's rule is that she didn't like the January window. She didn't really use it. I don't think we ever had anybody in January ever. Because she believed, and there is something to that, about getting your team together in July, thick and thin, bonding, bringing them all the way through. But all of our competitors are using the January transfer window. So you need to use it. And I'd be very interested to see in January, hopefully, maybe it's just hopefully, that we'll get a striker, because that's what went wrong last season. We were pushing for the league in December. Then we got injuries and we didn't have the depth, and we fell away again. if we can get one striker at least in the January transfer window and keep developing the devs, then we've got a really good chance of actually cementing at least third spot, which would get us in the Champions League. And just like with the men's, it opens up some of your bigger players that don't want anything but Champions League football.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I would love to see Man United women that win the Champions League. It'd just be honestly an amazing achievement considering where we was in 2018, where we didn't even have a squad, and then winning the championship and then going into the Champions League. You just think, how did we do this in such a short space of time? And you got like Emma Hayes, who's been at Chelsea for 9 years, and it's took quite a long time for her to develop the team. And you just think how we've done it in such a short space of time. It's something what you would really think is such an incredible achievement.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds cocky as well, but we're all United fans. I don't care. I'm speaking to the crowd here, but the Women's Champions League needs United. They do. I bet you don't even know that it's already started. That City played a game on Tuesday against Real Madrid. Because who the hell does? People in Madrid didn't even know. If you look at the stuff on the TV, that's not the Champions League that the little girl with his brother would want to play in. When we start going Champions League, and I already know for a fact there's going to be fans that will go abroad, home and away, to support the girls in the Champions League as well as over here. It's going to make the Champions League actually a Champions League rather than this weird competition that happens like at 5:00 on a Tuesday. And then it gets a bit more interesting towards the end of the season, and they get a game in a European stadium that's quite big towards the end in May. Just like the WSL, the Champions League needs United to actually get, not only to get the noise and bring the fan in the passion, to wake up some of the European clubs, like Madrid, who have only recently got a women's team, like Barcelona that are used to winning all the time. So they don't really, Wolfsburg, we need to wake up their fan bases a little bit. So they need us as much as we need them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait for if we actually do get into that Champions League.
Oh, we will. We will eventually, definitely. Yeah. But I think it's definitely a when, not an if. But hopefully we can get there this season.
Yeah, my fingers are crossed it is going to be this season, and we get at least into that third place, because we was actually so close, wasn't we? It was only marginal between us and Arsenal last season, and
we just ran out of ideas.
Yeah, if we didn't have them injuries, if, for example, we didn't go into that decline in the December time where we were top of the league, and then as every Man United fan think, yeah, we're top of the league, we're gonna win. It didn't obviously happen, did it? But hopefully it'll be much better. We'll get Champions League football for the first time in women's football. The women will be able to see what it's like to play internationally as well, having a bit more of an opportunity to play against Barcelona, Juventus, Wolfsburg, also Real Madrid as well. They're all amazing teams, and it's just such an amazing achievement.
Oh yeah, completely, and it's just going to grow, and that's what I mean. Everyone it's a great time to get involved. It's to come along to LSV. For people that aren't local to United, look at these channels like we're doing tonight. It gives you that kind of taste for real fans. It's kind of an interesting way of getting into it, and you'll be able to. And the great thing about it, it doesn't break the bank. My season ticket. It was slightly more complicated because we got a rebate for us that were there last season, but the walk-on season ticket for Manchester United women is $39.99 the whole season. Yeah, I'll repeat that for you Prem fans. Yeah, the whole season, not one game, not half a game, the whole season. And it just makes so much sense. Come along, give it a go. Not only are you going to watch a lot better football than these sad so-and-sos on Twitter are going to say it is. It certainly isn't Sunday League. It's a great way of filling your time. You're going to see some stadiums that you wouldn't necessarily be able to see. So a lot of these people that have been priced out of the men's game, they yearn back to the days where they could be on the side of the pitch, and you still get it with the women's. A lot of these older stadiums, you're standing there right near the action. And I think it's so great to see it on Sky Sports, as long as I say, people and BBC even have put it on BBC One now. People get involved and start supporting it. I don't think we're that far away from a situation like tennis where Wimbledon, whether you have the men and the women's, and it's both equally watched. And I think we are going to get there, definitely.
I'll go through some comments because I know there was a question in there for us. Good job, Maisie. Thank you, Ginge. Hello to you as well, Nippon. I am alongside with Andy today. King Tony, hey Maze, thank you for enjoying my holiday. Thought I'd check on this stream. Don't follow women's football apart from Arsenal and Brentford women. You are smashing it again. Thank you so much, Tony, and I do hope you are having a lovely holiday as well. I'm pretty jealous at the moment because I would like to be on holiday myself. But here was the question from Nippon. If you would take Wendy at Man United.
I think we've got. I think at the minute, I think we've possibly got some other priorities. I mean, it just depends, doesn't it? Because to take her, you've got to say no to other people. I mean, I don't know what your view on it is. I think she, obviously she would be good for us, but we can't see too many holes last night. Let's look at last night as the only example we've got. We are starting to score outside the striker position, so. I would say I'd always take a player that wants to play for us, but I think we'll just let's see what happens in the next few games.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like at the moment the squad is quite a good squad at this moment in time. We have definitely improved, but for me, I feel like there is other priorities that we do need. Like say a striker would be one. And knowing that she is a defender, I believe she is. I don't feel like we need to improve 100% on the defender at defense at the moment. For me, it's more that striker role because I don't really want to obviously have players when there's injuries being played at a false nine, and then that could potentially damage us from winning the game. So at the moment in time, probably no. But if, for example, we do need an injury. If there's an injury and we need to take her in the January, then I would probably take her. But now, if I was looking at the squad, I'd probably say no.
Yeah.
I've got here Jordan, big up Maisie and everyone in the chat on the road 200 subs. Yeah, I did see before I did start the stream today, I was at 159, so I am literally so close to getting that 200 subs. Thank you for everyone who is subscribing, who is liking, who is sharing my streams. It does mean so much because I am only quite new. I only started my channel just less than a month ago, so having all the support here, it does really mean a lot. I've got Chris, big up Maisie and guest, great show. Thank you for tuning in, Chris, and everyone go subscribe to Leicester Till I Die TV. I have been on there before and it's honestly a quality podcast. You come out and your tummy is
you'll see me
next
week. I'll be the one who'll be making a noise when we start bleeding.
My tummy is always in laughter. Like when your tummy hurts because you're laughing so much. That's why it ends up being like by the time I do finish the stream with Chris. Nippon said she is one of the best defenders in women's game, and Chris said Leicester women in the Super League this season. We're playing you next, Chris, so it'd be good to see if we do actually smash yous. It'd be good to see. Great show, as always, from Dana. Thank you very much for that, Dana. I wanted to ask you, are you going to the Leicester game?
I am, yeah.
So, how are you? Are you like excited for it, or?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, my voice is just coming back from last night. We're with any of the United fans that are obviously Manchester based, whatever. If you look at MUWSC on Twitter and that they have a travel, they generally do a bus, so they do like a minibus down there, which is what I'm going to be on. And essentially, so I think there's going to be, I'm not sure what the numbers are, but looking at possibly about 30 people, at least of Rommel's lot, going down there to the King Power Stadium in Leicester, at least. Obviously, there will be some local Reds because United are all over the country anyway. and I think some people they might make their own way down. And yeah, I'm loving it, honestly. I think lockdown's been really hard for a lot of people. I live on my own. If without really things like United, where you get to see people and you've got that shared bond. I've spoken to so many people last night. Some I knew, some I didn't, various different levels, but you've got that, you've got that bond for the badge, and you get that friendship, you get that socializing and stuff that we've all been, craving from lockdown. So there's part of that. But I think, I was thinking about this last night. There's no place I'd rather be than LSV last night, and there's no place I'd rather be than Leicester on Sunday. As far as I can tell, barring anything happening, I should hopefully be at every game this season that United are going to play. And even from a personal perspective, it means I've got stuff to do again. My weekends are suddenly getting filled up with this great thing, and I think I'm excited from that. I'm excited because we've got Mark Skinner. I'm excited to go down there because the great thing about away is you've never done them, and I would encourage anyone to do an away for any team. Actually, it probably works the same for the teams because you've got the game at home, which lasts 90 minutes. But honestly, your aways last about 8 hours. You genuinely do. Because we would meet up at 6:30 in the morning if it was a 12:30 kickoff in London or whatever. And you start talking about the game, you get in the game, you start doing some songs like we do on the Barmy Bus. And by the time you got to the game, you were almost jacked anyway. And then you've got the game itself. And then after that, you might get a bit of food, you come back, and it elongates the 90 minutes to 8-9 hours. And it's still, you're £7 to get in plus like your 30 quid for the bus. So I would definitely say anyone who wants to do an away, definitely get on that. And I can't wait for Leicester.
And especially like you said earlier on, it's only £39.99 for the whole season. It's absolutely
home game, for the home games. For the home games. Yeah. Obviously, the ways we have to pay. I mean, it's quite funny actually because we have to register. Like for Leicester, I've had to register with Leicester to get tickets. So some of us who've been doing this for a while now, it's hilarious. We get emails, Merry Christmas from Birmingham. See our Christmas jumper collection. No thanks, because like you've had to because there's no way of separating us out. So hopefully, going forward as we grow as a game, that United will have an away allocation like they do with the men's, because at least that'll stop that from happening. But yeah, no, I'm registered now with all the WSL teams.
We'll be able to see all your happy birthdays from our
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Merry Christmas. Go buy some pajamas with Bristol City's logo on it. No, you're all right. I'll forget. I'll forget about
that. Chris has said that we will win because Leicester lost to Villa today. Oh dear.
Yeah, no, they lost 2-1, I believe. There's actually there's a few of our guys that were there today, looking at some of the ex-Reds, and they said actually that Leicester were unlucky actually a little bit, that it wasn't it wasn't a walkover. But I'm sorry, I'm just going to make it that you're going to lose the next one, so you'll be 0-2 by the end of the first 2 games. But there you go.
Leicester will be bottom of the table, Chris.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
He also said apparently Arsenal is switching the ladies' team to play under Arteta. Don't say that to the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, people are making the jokes about that. I mean, to be honest though, it's nice because it's funny because it's just a funny thing to say, because the people that are doing that in anger at the men's team, a lot of them are saying oh, it's Sunday League low with the women's, but you can't say both. Both things can't be true, But I think, I think I'm sure the Arsenal men will get sorted at some point. But I don't care. I'm only focused on United.
Antonia said that Arteta will do it again. Yes, absolutely correct. I'm going to wrap it up here now anyway. I just want to say a big, massive thanks to Andy for coming on this stream, talking to us about the Man United women game versus Reading. I've absolutely loved hearing your opinions.
Good to be on there.
It has been a pleasure, and I would love to have you on again.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully there'll be maybe a couple more people, but never mind. But it's been good to have both of us on, hearing just both of our views alone. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Where can we find you?
Yeah, I mean, just my personal Twitter at the minute. It's mostly United focused, but I throw a few other things in there as well, as you can see on the screen, at AJO_87. But typically, another one to keep an eye on is, as I say, the one that I'm on a lot, which is All for United Women, and that's always a good thing to look at. So you'll either see me on there, hopefully making sense, or you'll see me on my Twitter page.
Mm-hmm. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Please go and hit my like button, hit the subscribe button, and what I do think is quite important, especially for this stream alone, hit the share button. It's good to see people watching about women's football, getting this awareness about, because women's football is absolutely incredible and it does need to have a lot more awareness. Show people that women also as an amazing footballer as a men player is, because women's football, when you do watch that, you will think this is a really good game to watch, let's watch some more. And that is exactly how I felt a couple of years ago, and now I absolutely love women's football. The World Cup, I loved it. I love the Super League. I love when obviously the FA Cup is on. I just absolutely love the women's football now. It's absolutely incredible, and I'm sure Andy will 100% agree with me there as well.
100%.
I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be doing a Champions League preview. I've got a couple of guests here. I've got a Chelsea fan who will be on, so that'll be quite good to see their perspective on the Champions League. And that'll be at 7:00. Sorry, in case I didn't forget, because I normally do 8:30 streams. But until then, I will catch you all later. Bye.